You're listening to dialectradio.co.uk.
Well, every few weeks we have the Bristol Underground Church in here. At least we have the last couple of months to talk about various churches around the city they've visited. They've given them a bit of a checklist out of 10, got their clipboard out and said, well, we think this is a great church and this isn't. So this is nothing scientific really about this survey at all. But I understand, Bridget, that you've been recently to one of the Brethren churches. In fact, both of the Brethren churches. Can you just tell us initially, what are the Brethren?
Well, the Brethren are a church very out on their own. They started off with George Mullard and his companion at the time, and they later split up into two churches. One of them,
how old is the church? Do you know how far it goes
18
back?
18 something,
right.
Whenever the orphanages were opened by Mullard around that time. The other man was Irish, and he ended up splitting, so they went in two different directions, and it became the Plymouth Brethren as well as the Exclusive Brethren.
Right. Now, last time you went to the Plymouth Brethren, didn't you? I think, was it Filton Avenue?
Yes, yes.
And you quite enjoyed it. It was a small gathering.
Very small, very nice, very friendly.
Singing?
Yes, there was
singing
and not too many people there, and everyone took their turns to give a word.
Dancing and jumping
around?
No
dancing. No. They were sort of just inviting us in, making us feel at home, and it was really good. We enjoyed it.
The idea was that they made a bit of space for people who were part of the church to actually say something as ministry as part of the service.
Yes. Men were speaking, no women spoke. And I think it went off very quietly and very quickly. There wasn't very much to it.
Well, there's even parts of the Church of England now that are starting to do that kind of thing, to say we'd like people to contribute as part of the service. So,
yes.
Anyway, so but that was the last time we spoke to you. What about the Exclusive Brethren? This is the other branch.
That is a massive different kettle of fish. We went up there on Sunday.
Where are they?
They're up in Almsbury. And we went up there Sunday early because we didn't know they don't advertise their meeting times. Just one meeting on a Sunday they advertise.
Okay, so is it an ordinary church or like a parish church style building?
No. The gates were locked when we arrived up there. So we looked in and we could see that there was a type of church. It was sort of like a barn. And it was in on the ground, and there was parking space for about 700 cars.
Wow! So, are you talking about an old-fashioned farm-type barn?
No, very modern. A place like you wouldn't see it anywhere else. It was just like a big warehouse type of thing.
Oh, crikey! What, like one of these big tin shed type things we see on industrial estates?
Yeah, but quite a good type of one. And we eventually, after waiting for about an hour, this man came in a car, and he drove up and introduced himself as Brian and said that he had a service starting and that we could drive in and go right to the top, kind of out of the way, because there'd be 700 people coming in about an hour. So we went up and we waited, and the 700 people turned up.
Wow, what time roughly?
About an hour. I think it was about 11, quarter to 11. Anyway, they got out of cars, and all the cars were the same, black and grey. And every car was parked homeward bound. No one parked any old place. It was all like...
Oh, they were all pointed in the same direction?
Yes.
Crikey.
And the gates were locked. So all the men that got out...
That's fair enough, isn't it? I mean, because, you don't want car thieves or whatever coming in during the service.
No, but it seemed a bit odd that they were all sort of homeward bound. All the men that got out of the car were dressed in white shirts and black trousers, black shoes. And then the women got out, and they were dressed in scarves, small scarves, long hair. Lots of pretty women, young women, older women.
So the scarves, that was to cover the hair, was it?
Yeah,
a bit
just
like
small scarves and long hair.
Oh.
So we were told, don't come in, because the first start of this service is like private, it's for the congregation, the people. And they said, we'll come and get you when the service starts. So about 20 minutes later they came out, got Simon and I to go in, and by the side door. And women have to wear dresses. They don't want women wearing trousers. And we were quite shocked when we walked in the entrance to see all these seats in very strange shapes.
Well, hang on, because were you wearing a dress or
no, I had trousers on.
So you had to get changed, or did they tolerate you?
No, I took my scarf off and made a dress out of it. It worked. I got in. Anyway, there was a massive big bunch of men in the middle in white shirts. So all you could see was this massive white array, hundreds all sitting together.
And now were they all pointing into the middle? Or
No,
what?
yes, they were all pointing to the middle.
So they all had their backs to the rest of the congregation?
Yes.
And that was the rest of the congregation, women, kids, or what?
Well, then there was women all behind, bunches behind. They weren't in together. And it was great and colourful, and the women all wore, it was like a fashion parade. White high-heeled shoes and pretty clothes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, quite a lot of people do get dressed up to go to church.
Yeah,
in
but
all sorts of
this
places.
was really dressed, and it was like a fashion parade in London. You know, they were all really pretty and dressed and very away from everybody. You wouldn't imagine seeing them walking around Tesco's or anywhere like that. It all went really well, and 3 men spoke.
So it's just going back slightly, how long did they make you wait for then outside?
An hour.
Right, so they had something going on inside for an hour after they arrived,
Yes,
and then
people-
it let you in.
Well, I suppose it was less than an hour by the time we went in, but they didn't want us in until they were ready.
So they had how long in there before you actually...
I suppose a good 3/4 of an hour.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. And then when we went in, a man sat each side of us. We were in the back. We weren't in the congregation. We were at the back in one seat, a leather black seat. And a man sat each side. So
they were almost like guarding you.
Yeah, yes. It felt quite nice in one way, but in another way it felt as if we were kind of under scrutiny. The songs were lovely. The people were like from another world. They looked so clean and so wholesome, and the preaching was really all around Jesus and the Last Supper. And 3 different men spoke, and the old man that spoke first was kind of crying. So there was a lot of emotion attached to his preaching. And we were quite blessed, but at the same time, they were very exclusive, very
Well,
that's
why they're called the exclusive brethren.
Yes.
Did they tell you much about their beliefs?
Yes, they told us quite a bit. They don't have any crosses, because we asked them, was there no cross? And they said no.
Did they say why?
Well, they don't sort of present the cross. They just present a Bible, and they gave us a black Bible each, and they let us take whatever leaflets we wanted to give out to the people we meet on the street. And they were very friendly, very nice, but it was all like we had to move in their procession, their way. And it was all very sort of, you could say, locked in. You didn't feel as if you could get up in the middle of the service and walk out like you do in the Church of England, places like that. You felt you're there, you got to stay till it's over.
Did you get any idea of what they were up to when you were being kept outside?
I think it would have been their business about how much money comes in, what meetings they're having during the week they wouldn't want us to know about, because we turned up out of the blue and they told us to come back to a later meeting that was advertised. But we said, we're here now, we might as well hang on. And so they let us through. We did get blessed being in there, but we didn't feel as if we were part of it. We were on the outside looking in. And it was a bit of a shock, to be honest, compared to the Church of England, where it seems like it's all a bit of a mixed bunch, as it is
What
in most
about
churches.
Holy Communion? Do they have that?
Yes, but I don't think they had it did they? No, I don't think they had it when we were there. It was all very quickly over, and things were rushed in the end. Everyone got back in their cars and just drove straight out, and within a few minutes the place was clear. You never know anyone was there.
Amazing.
And the big green gate was locked. So I was just glad I got out.
The proof of pudding's
We
in the
got
eating, though. Afterwards, how did you feel? I mean, it's almost like if you've been to see a good film or a bad film, when you come out the cinema, you do get a sense of, was that really worth it or not?
I felt that it was all that if I'd been a homeless person or I'd been in need, I don't think we would have got in. Because they have a notice up saying that only certain people, that are well-dressed sort of and are well-dispositioned should come in. And so I think they are very, very together, and that they don't hold the meetings publicly, and it's because they don't want just anybody turning up. And they were a little bit put out by us turning up the way we did. But however, they let us in and they sort of brought us through it, and got us to the other side.
Well, it sounds to me like you put a little bit of pressure on them to say, well, actually, we'd rather not go, thanks. We feel led to stay here. And if you hadn't done that, you probably would have...
We wouldn't have got in. No, I think they would have... on a couple of occasions, they gave us a get-out clause and said we should come back later. But Simon and I put quite a lot of effort into getting there, and so we really did want to see what was going to happen without it being prearranged.
What about the leaflets they gave you? What did they teach you or tell you about Exclusive Brethren?
Very good material, which is showing people salvation, how to get saved and how to give up sin. It is a church that doesn't allow any sin in, because one of the preachers talked about fashion and talked against sort of designer clothes and everything.
But hang on, that sounds exactly like what they were up to.
Yes, I was a bit shocked. I said to one of the men, what an amazing amount of shoes these ladies have. Like Marilyn Monroe type 4-inch heels and nice skirts with splits down beside, And I thought it was quite a contradictory to how they seem to be and how very sort of sober the men are. But I think women sort of put a lot into their clothes and their appearance, and therefore it is a bit like a fashion show once you get in.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like a bit of a contrast between what the literature is saying about them and then what you actually experience.
Yes,
is that true?
Yes, and I did feel a bit underdressed, I have to say. Even though I had made a good effort to dress up, I did still feel I didn't fit into the black shirt, the black suit type of thing, and all the lovely colours and all the feeling of a fashion show. So, I came out feeling like I need to go out and shop if I'm coming back here.
Well, I don't know if they probably... Simon, what was your feeling about the church? Is there anything you've got to add to Bridget's account there?
When we walked in, it was in a square, which is actually, as I said last time, very biblical in that it enables every brother to give a word. And when we talked to them, their real bugbear was that they were totally against the clergy system. They were into equality and all this. But as you asked, when we walked in, we thought it was phenomenal. Picture this: it was about 1,000 seats, all in a circle or square. In the first 6 or 7 or 8 rows was the men, all wearing white shirts and black trousers, and then behind them were all the ladies, dressed as Bridget described them, with a few of their children around. And there was an amazing peace, and the singing was completely unified, without instruments. And we felt that it was like from a really old age, didn't we? Like a bygone age. It was very long time ago feeling, and we liked it a lot. And as she said, they're very doctrinally pure. They take their Christianity really seriously, which is really good.
It's all very well to say that, but I mean, the idea that, say, for example, if you're homeless, you're not welcome.
Yes, there is a point to that. As Bridget mentioned, all their cars were of a hue of grey, and they were all expensive cars, and they all were identical type of car. They were all those 5-door family
people mover type.
That sort of thing,
or are we talking about 4x4s?
No, they weren't 4x4s, but they were all of that same type. One blue, one red we spotted, but the other hundreds were all of a type of... And that was obviously deliberate because they don't believe... For example, Tony, they don't wear ties. They believe that is of the devil.
But women wear scarves, and that's not of the devil.
Well, it says women cover your heads when you pray or prophesy, so that's where they get that from. Now, I don't agree with the ban on ties, but they really do major on the minors. This great conformity.
Would you go back?
We've been invited back.
Would you like to go back there?
Well, we'd like to go for another visit for the purposes of Bristol Community FM, but we wouldn't join the church.
Why not?
Well, we've set up our own, the Bristol Underground Church.
You. I'm asking you personally. Why would you not want to join that church?
Well, for that reason, we have our own spirit-filled, spirit-led church. The guy has invited us back, and he said we're allowed to stay in go to one of their small rooms this time, where it's a similar format. And we did have a lot of very good conversations with about 5 or 6 of them before and after the meetings.
What were those conversations about then?
Well, it was Doctrine, or as Bridget said.
Well, give us an idea of what they actually believed then. I mean,
Yeah,
we've had a
I
pretty
will.
good view from Bridget of what the
Yeah.
service generally was like, but what do these people believe?
Yeah,
the exclusive brethren.
They checked us out. Well, I read their leaflet, their pamphlet that they gave us afterwards in detail, and it is good. It's scriptural. They said two things which struck with me. One, they said at the very beginning, we believe that everyone who calls on the name of the Lord Jesus for salvation will be saved.
And does that include homeless people?
Yes, which is the scripture we use. It's Romans 10:13. And then secondly, they said, we have always believed that not only the brethren will be in heaven. So this exclusive business is not necessarily an accurate portrayal. And I said to the guy at the end, I said, I challenged him on the 2 points that I brought up in your last week's interview. About the party walls, that they won't share a semi-detached house, and he said that's for practical reasons, because they've had complaints about the worship in their houses, and also vice versa, they don't like the worldly noise from next door. Then I checked up about this thing about that they dig their own drains because their separation from the world won't allow them to have the same drains, but he said that's not true. And he said that quite often these bad reports that are spread about them are spread by people who've left the church afterwards, and we found them very friendly, Tony. They were very friendly. But to answer your point about the homeless, there were no poor people there. They all looked identical, and we thought their jobs. When I looked through the pamphlet, they're quite high powered. Most of them are self-employed.
Maybe if a homeless person joins the exclusive brethren, then they're not homeless for long.
No.
And they get a high-powered job pretty quick.
Yeah, they do look after their people. They say, for example, when a young married couple marry, they will help them to buy a house. They will help do it up. They look after their people. Certainly.
Okay. Anything final to add, Bridget?
Yes, they don't watch television or radio.
No, well, they won't be listening to this then.
Not as far as they told us.
And why do they say they do that then?
They keep the media out, probably newspapers and everything, and they try to keep everything out of their lives except God and going to church and all the things they do. But the lovely clothes and everything they wear reminds me of the Catholic Church back in Ireland when I went there years ago. They were all really well dressed and had cars and came in the same type of way. But they couldn't identify with the poor, the needy. And so I think this probably got, it's a people's church, but they have to be all of a similar type of person. And I don't think everybody would fit in there. I certainly wouldn't. I'd be a bit like a fish out of water, because I couldn't park my car in the same way twice or dress up or keep that type of code of conduct they have. And It looks lovely, and it's lovely to look in, and everybody should have a look in there, because it's really a blessing to see them and how pure and everything they are. And perhaps there's a lot we can learn from them.
Well, I mean, wonders what goes on behind the scenes, though, doesn't one?
That's what I did say. I'd like to be around a while and be a fly on the wall and see what really goes on, if this is as good as it is. If it is, it's fantastic to see people like them living in the world
today. And quite often, I mean, for example, with the Jehovah's Witnesses, is that, you may go to a service, it might be very exciting, wonderful, and then you realise actually it's a cult, because the people at the very top are completely exclusive about what they do, and they control it from the top, and it's actually very secretive at the top.
Yes.
They see themselves as, better than others.
That's true, and I think from that point of view, I'd prefer to be out on the street and doing the church life the way we do, and meeting the homeless and all the needy people we do. I wouldn't want to be in a pew every week being dressed up like that, because I just couldn't do it. It's like modelling every week. It must be.
Okay. All right, Simon and Bridget from Bristol Underground Church, thanks very much for joining us again on Dialect, and we'll have another review in a few weeks' time.
Thanks, you for
Tony.
having
Been a
us. Thank you, Tony.
You're listening to dialectradio.co.uk.